Good evening and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Kato. On Monday, the presidents of Poland and Lithuania attended a ceremony at the Lithuanian border, which officially opened part of the Via Baltica motorway. The Via Baltica is part of the longer E67 European route that connects Estonia all the way through to Poland. To tell you more about the significance of this broader regional endeavour, I am joined by Giedrimas Jeglinskas, Lithuanian MP and former Deputy Defence Minister. Good evening and thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, good evening.
So to begin with, tell us where we are at when it comes to the Via Baltica and the Rail Baltica project. How long is it before it is fully operational?
Well, I think this is what happened today, and seeing two presidents there at the ceremony, that's definitely a cause of celebration. But we also have to understand that this, the connectivity that we have between the countries, and let's say Poland, Lithuania, and then going north all the way to Finland needs a lot of work, and a lot of work remains to be done. If we remember 2019, as we were discussing the fiscal sort of period for a fiscal term for this year from the European Commission, European countries identified 140 billion of needs in military mobility, and only 1.5 billion was allocated back then. So we see that, sure, there's a lot of investments are being placed into Lithuania, into Poland, into every country, but a lot remains to be done. And a key element is the military mobility. These roads need to be connecting us because, well, they're important for our defense, for our deterrence, for our cooperation, for our interoperability among the forces. So I think, sure, let's celebrate what happened today. But a lot needs to be done. And to your point, Rail Baltica probably remains one of the most, significant projects in the near future. Can we make it happen by 2035? I'm not sure. I think the project timelines continue to be pushed forward. But I think, I think that this ceremony today, I think, signifies a huge leap forward, but a lot more needs to be done.
And focusing exactly on what happened today, what is the significance of the Via Baltica in light of the regional tensions that the Baltic states are experiencing vis-a-vis Russia?
Well, I think, where the presidents met today is really the Suwalki corridor, right? We used to call it one of the most dangerous places on Earth, because potentially Russia through Belarus can actually connect at this very narrow range. Now, I think the better we are connected, and I think Lithuania has been slightly behind in developing its infrastructure. When as a Lithuanian, if I go to Poland and I drive to Warsaw, when coming back, I have incredible roads all the way to the border. We always did not have that kind of roads in Lithuania. I think this is the start that actually, the trucks, the military movement and civilian movement actually can be much smoother with this development. So that's definitely a big step. But to be honest, I think if we go back to probably about 10 years ago, when then U.S. Army commanding officer in Europe, General Hodges, started talking about the importance of military mobility and how important it is to create, he called it the Schengen military zone, or that, we need to be able to, transport our troops from, let's say, Germany and Italy all the way to Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia much faster. I think there's a lot of work remains to be done, both from infrastructure perspective as well as kind of legal elements that are critical. It's it's work in progress, but it's a significant milestone.
So nonetheless, today's event definitely shows that we're moving forward. But how does and will the Via Baltica and the Rail Baltica boost regional security and the economies of the Baltic states in the years to come?
Well, I think the more connected we are, the more ways we have to reach each other, whether coming from Poland to Lithuania all the way to Latvia, Estonia, and Finland. The more links we have with each other, the more commerce can take place, more investments can be generated. And of course, on a defense element, I think that's very clear. These roads that are being built now are different than the roads that were used to be built in the past. They're able to hold certain weights for tanks and for other heavy equipment. I think Rail Baltica, when that becomes operational, again, it will have that dual use element, meaning that you can transport not only people, tourists and businessmen traveling from Warsaw to Vilnius, let's say, but also heavy military equipment, which really increases interoperability. It enhances our ability to train together. Again, the more links we have with each other, the more roads, the better roads that we have, the better economic potential. So I think we're strengthening the whole region because we understand that this part of the world is relatively vulnerable because we see what's happening in Ukraine, and I think we see the Russia's intentions. Though that threat is never going to go away, in my estimate. So we need to continue to strengthen and really connect our region in between the countries. So I think we're doing the right steps, but it takes a lot of capital. It takes time as well to invest in this infrastructure. But it's absolutely crucial that the infrastructure is fit for purpose and it's able to offer us more security security elements in our deterrence posture.
So in terms of the Suwałki Gap, which you mentioned earlier, obviously this is a tricky point for our region. Does the Via Baltica actually, once it's fully up and running, will this actually change the security levels in the positive sense for our region? Does it bring the threat levels down?
Well, I'm not sure if the threat level is down because I think threat levels can be assessed probably by looking at our aggressive neighbors, Russia and Belarus, which is was a vassal state of Russia. I think that's where
will there be security points in that area?
I think it's not about security points, but I think it's the point that we're connected, that our militaries can intersect this border faster in a much more efficient way. But that gap by nature, by design, the very narrow part is always going to be the vulnerable part. Now the question, can we deploy troops around that area and they can train more often? Now we have American troops in Poland, we have of course Polish troops in Poland, we have Lithuanian, American and German troops in Lithuania. Can we really make, and I'm asking it not just rhetorically but really from a practical sense, can we really make that Suwałki Gap area, that really permanent training area for all these troops, understanding that this is a vulnerable geography for both countries? Can we make sure that the militaries are there, that they're training to defend this military, they're training to defend the Suwałki corridor? I think that's the way to increase the security of this area. Now, the Via Baltica, it's a continuation of the incredible roads that Poland already has had for many years. And I think the better our friendly troops can access each other, the safer we are.
Polish President Nawrocki and President Giedrimas Jeglinskas were expected to hold a bilateral meeting to discuss key regional issues, defense, security and support for Ukraine following today's ceremony. Are you able to tell us what we could expect to emerge out of that meeting?
Well, hard to predict probably, but I would say I imagine there'll be unity regarding the support for Ukraine. The meeting for Putin and Trump, the whole Hungary meeting is coming up. I think European capitals have truly rallied, as they always do after the Washington kind of spectacles. The European capitals rally, and I think that there's no exception that Vilnius and Warsaw will be probably on the same page, providing support to Ukraine. And I think we know where we need to go. I mean, Russia only understands the language of strength. And we need to make sure we are strong, and we arm Ukraine to such an extent that they're able to truly push Russia back against the wall. There's only one way to negotiate with Russia. It's not to invite it to negotiations, but truly force it to negotiate. So we know what needs to be done, and I think slowly we're hopefully getting there. I think President Trump is doing also what it can. He has to consider all his own domestic constituencies as well. So it's all understandable. Now the question is, can Europe pick up the slack? I think I'm not too worried about America's commitment. I think the key here now is, can Europe truly arm itself and be able to revitalize its defense industrial base to support not only our own needs but really also the needs of Ukraine. So I think there's a lot of goodwill. but these things need to be, we need to deliver. You need to execute on these things.
The Baltica infrastructure projects are part of the broader 3Cs initiative. What is your assessment of the impact of that 3Cs initiative in the region over the recent years?
So just as an example, today I had a great briefing on the 3Cs initiative investment fund that is sort of front run by Amber Infrastructure and many other limited partners, the financiers. And what we're seeing is that the investments are being made. I think where we're lacking in terms of connecting the 3Cs initiative countries, meaning all of Eastern and Central Europe, essentially, is really speed and scale of investment. So if we truly want, unified railroads and great roads and investment climate in all of these countries, I think the investments have to be much bigger and have to be much faster. I think the Rail Baltica is a case in point where, again, it's not a private investment. It's very much a sovereign initiative, but it's a multi-sovereign initiative, actually, which makes it actually even more complicated. But it takes way too long. If we're going to continue building these railroads and roads at such a slow pace, there's going to be very little economic dynamism. And this is what we want to assure. We want to assure also the Western capital and American capital that, this is a safe place to invest. I live in Lithuania. I'm a true believer in our region. I think it is the safe place. I don't think there's going to be war. NATO is stronger than ever, but we need to really showcase also our economic potential, and that's what 3Cs initiative comes into the fore. I think you need to really showcase real investment cases that are being done fast and they have a real impact on the economic welfare of the region. Then I think the capital will start flowing in. This is what we want.
Okay, Giedrimas Jeglinskas, Lithuanian MP and former Deputy Defence Minister, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of World Talks. Thank you so much for joining us and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.